Hello, Ella and the staff members of Elevate. Today's presentation, I will be analyzing the three sets of performance evaluation scores provided using the repeated measure ANOVA in hopes of adding additional suggestions to you guys' organizational success. So, what is repeated measures of ANOVA? A one-way repeating measure of ANOVA, there is a single independent variable measured against a dependent variable, meaning is there a relationship between job type and performance evaluation scores pre and post independent variable, for example, training, organizational change, and etc. A two-way repeated measure of ANOVA is two independent variables are being manipulated against a dependent variable, meaning is there a relationship between job type location and performance evaluation scores, pre and post independent variable, as the same here, training, organizational change, and etc. So the appropriate time to use repeated measure of ANOVA listed here, there is a need for controlling individual differences within a study as a result of subjects slash participants or measured against all conditions slash variables. Different types here, repeated measures measuring the effect of something temporarily. Effects can either be of training over time, performance scores over time at work. Another type here, between groups, measuring different things on the same group, performance score of after working with each supervisor. The critical thing listed here is to note that the goal is to investigate changes over time of differences in experience and conditions. In these next few slides, you will see a series of tested assumptions of repeated measure ANOVA used in the SPS system. So I used a one-way repeated measure ANOVA where there is only one main effect here, which is the main effect is evaluation scores. The hypothesis here is that the scores will increase over time due to practice effects. So the top first image is just showing the three levels or the three different times the employees took the performance evaluation test as a dependent variable. In the descriptive statistics box, we see the mean increasing linearly by a couple of points, by pretty much 2 points there. However, there was a decrease in the standard deviation. Before I go into explaining the bottom picture here, just want to say ANOVA with repeated measures are particularly susceptible to the violation of assumption of sericity. Sericity is the conditions where the variance of the difference between all combinations of related groups or levels are equal. And in this case, violation of sericity is when the variance of the difference between all combinations of related groups are not equal. Sericity can be likened to homogeneity of variance in a between subject ANOVA. So in this case, we rejected the null hypothesis in the sericity test, which means we cannot assume the homogeneity variance or covariance, but was given some corrections, factors to help make correct conclusions based on the main ANOVA results on the next slide. And some of those facts you see listed here is the greenhouse geyser, the Hünfeld, and the lower bound, which I will go kind of more in details on the next slide. So here you will see the main effect being the factor or the performance evaluation scores, with the degree of freedom being 2 as the numerator and 1260 being the denominator. And it's very statistically significant with P being 0.00 and less than 0.05. Since we rejected the null hypothesis of the sericity, in the last slide, we would need to use either greenhouse geyser correction, Hünfeld, or lower bound to report. Since they're roughly the same, and in most corporation, they're used greenhouse geysers. So we're just going to go with the greenhouse geyser report with a F value of 140.861 and 1.335 being the numerator, and 841.116 is the denominator, and a sig value less than 0.05, which means there is a significant there. Moving to the next slide here. Because I got a statistically different ANOVA earlier when looking at the greenhouse geyser, just to follow those assumptions up, the table here is showing a series of compared t-tests. It's a breakdown of the compared mean effects. So from top to bottom, you see factor 2 times factor 3. Then you have factor 1 times factor 3. Then you have factor 1 times factor 2. SPSS doesn't really break down the t-test, but from the table we can see a rejection of the null hypothesis, and sig values are less than 0.05 and significant. So in this slide, I tested a potential confounding variable, which is I used gender that could be present in the study, and also looked at least one trend based on a demographic location, which is the two locations. Still looking at the greenhouse Geyser reportings, we see gender sig value of 0.027, which is less than 0.05, which also means a significant difference in rejection of the null hypothesis. However, location is showing 0.838 sig value, which is greater than 0.05, so there is an acceptance of the null hypothesis, which also means performance evaluation scores has no significant difference between the two locations across the 3 times performance scores were conducted. They are pretty much equal. So the most important part of an individual performance evaluation is communication between manager and employee. I think this quote is so important to understand. This can be through written or verbal communication. A manager simply gives an employee feedback on current levels of performance. An employee shares his progress and concerns about performance. When you evaluate an employee, transmit information carefully to respect your employee's self-worth and commitment to the job. So something to just keep in mind just for the near future as you guys are continuing to work through the nitpicks of just building on your organizational success. Some important components of performance evaluation scores, right? So the first one listed here, questions for preparation. You can communicate better through written feedback and verbal feedback by using common questions to guide your preparation for each performance meeting with your employee. That is so important. Second one listed here is conversation. It's the goal of the performance evaluation to help an employee improve and not to drop in any areas of performance. You need a format for the conversation. It's best to follow either the format of the evaluation of the employee job description. Then lastly here, compensation versus professional development, which is so important. Have a more productive conversation about an employee's performance by postponing dialogue about compensation or performance-based bonuses for a different day. You want an employee to talk about what's going right and what could be improved. This will require you to address the professional development needs several times during the year, including giving specific feedback about what to improve and how to improve it, and adding more training opportunity before the year-end evaluation. I thank you for your attention once again, and I hope this presentation was beneficial to you guys in some sort of a way. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.